Hi, this is Ways to Improve Bailey by Cori Cooper, brought to you by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Ways to Improve Bailey, number 11. Tell the truth. I really need to tell a lie right now. When I made that stupid promise to my stupid brother Dayton last week, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to tell the truth all the time. Bailey, Marnie's big brown eyes reminded me of Bambi. I asked you what you think about Todd. Exactly the problem. If she had to ask me what I thought about the new Ryan Reynolds movie or the Dove moisturizer cream, I could give her a pretty awesome monologue. Asking me about Todd was just mean. Oh, shoot, Marnie. Would you look at that gummy bear bin? It's totally empty. I should refill those right now. I went to work as if gummy bears were the most important thing in the whole world. Right up there with keeping your Netflix subscription current. Marnie eyeballed the half-empty bin for just a moment before her eyes lit up. Did you notice who's buying all of the gummy bears? I didn't. Sorry. I stuck my bottom lip out in a gross exaggeration. Gross exaggeration is not lying. Well, probably not. Oh, too bad, Marnie mimicked my pouty face, except hers was totally sincere. That's okay, though. I'll try to pay attention while I'm here. Gummy bears are so tricky to match. They go with gummy worms, of course, and chocolate, and any of the fruit toppings. But that's pretty much it. I pulled a new package out from under the counter and looked around for the scissors. Wait, what do you mean gummy bears are tricky to match? Most likely, this was another one of Marnie's Pinterest-inspired projects, but it didn't really matter. What mattered was that she gave me the perfect opportunity to change the subject. The more we talked about something else, the less we talked about Todd. And the less we talked about Todd, the better. Marnie licked her spoon and dipped it back into her frozen yogurt cup. Didn't I tell you? I thought I did. I shook my head. Bailey, it's the most amazing thing. I can totally match people together, like as couples, based on their favorite frozen yogurt or ice cream and what they choose to put on top. Paused with the scissors poised in the air. Are you for real? Yes, Marnie nodded so enthusiastically that her brown curls bounced around her head like manic springs. I had the idea when Ricky and I broke up. I can't believe I didn't tell you about this. Well, you told me about Ricky. I sliced open the top of the gummy bear bag. I remember, because that's when you decided you were giving up on love forever. Marnie leaned her cheek into her hand, making her lips pooch out. Oh, yeah, that's right. For a little while there, I thought love was impossible. It looks so easy in the movies. Meet the perfect person, fall in love, have a 3/4 through the movie falling out, make up, get married. Simple, right? Sure, I nodded. Easy peasy. But then Marnie straightened and laid her spoon on the counter so she could emphasize all her words with hand gestures. I watched a documentary about penguins. Penguins mate for life. Did you know that? And the male sits on the egg. Crazy. I was eating a huge bowl of chocolate ice cream with fudge on top, and I had this flash of inspiration. Ricky always ate sherbet with 0 toppings, and I always chose chocolate ice cream with chocolate toppings. Sherbet and chocolate do not go together. That's why we didn't work. There was no doubt that Marnie was completely serious. She fully believed that what she said was true. It was luck she didn't ask my opinion about it because lying would be necessary to preserve our friendship. I tested it out with some of our friends, Marnie said. Who? Now I was interested. It was like getting sucked into the tabloids at the grocery store. The more ridiculous, the better. Derek likes banana-flavored everything, and Hazel is obsessed with peanut butter, so they are meant to be together. Also, Randy and Zuri. He likes coconut, and she's crazy about pineapple, see? Marnie spread her hands to the sides like that was all the proof I would ever need. It really works. Well, actually, it only works if the flavors and toppings are the person's very favorite, not just a craving or a whim. That's why I need to know what you think about Todd. He always chooses peanut butter, so he might be the one for me. Wait, How did you circle back around to Todd so fast? I didn't even get a chance to head her off. Diabolical. I looked down at the bag of gummy bears that was still sitting on the counter in front of me, then remembered that I was supposed to be restocking the toppings. I tugged the gummy bear bin out of place and set it next to the bag. Why do you need to know what I think about Todd? It sounds like a match made at Reese's. Yeah, Marnie picked up her spoon and swirled tight figure eights around through her yogurt. It does sound perfect, but it doesn't feel right. Why not? I tipped the bag into the bin and watched the gummy bears fall in an avalanche. So satisfying. Marnie shrugged one shoulder. I don't know. Well, that was ridiculous. I could give her a 30-minute lecture on why it didn't feel right, entitled, Dating Todd is a Horrible Idea. Instead, I pretended to drop the gummy bear bag and ducked under the counter to hide my grimace. Grimacing is not the same as lying either. When I stood back up, my face was as smooth as soft serve. Chocolate can go with a lot of things, Marnie, not just peanut butter. Even if your matchmaking thing works, it doesn't have to mean Todd is the only guy you can be happy with. There was a long silence as Marnie stared into space, tapping her spoon against her cheek. Okay, Marnie, spill your guts. I shoved the bin aside, leaned toward her, my elbows pressing onto the countertop. Why doesn't it feel right? Oh no, that's the problem. He's nice to everyone and hardworking and loves kids and has a dreamy smile. So dreamy, I mimicked with a wicked grin. Marnie didn't even notice. She just kept staring somewhere beyond my left ear. He seems perfect. But then he sometimes does something that really just irks me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm a bad person. Give me a break. I rolled my eyes, but Marnie didn't notice. Help me out here, Bailey. What do you think about Todd? Please, tell me honestly. And we were back. I hated that we were back. I think Todd is... I turned away to plop the gummy bear bin into place on the toppings bar. A few spilled out onto the counter with the momentum. I tossed some to Marnie and the others into my mouth. Chewing didn't help me find a word to fill the blank. Todd is what? A buffoon? A cretin? Annoying? Conceited? Absurd? How could I be in my second semester of college and not be able to find a word that described Todd without offending Marnie? Suddenly, I questioned my university choice. Maybe I should have lived at home and gone to ASU instead of NAU. Well, I blurted. Well? Marnie narrowed her eyes slightly, but not because she was upset. The scrunched up face she gave me was just her thinking face. She was trying to figure out what I meant by swell. I chose the word because Todd was so full of himself that, at the rate he was going, his head was going to swell to epic proportions. Soon there would not be a single doorway left in northern Arizona that Todd and his bloated ego could fit through. Marnie would never in a million years put the words bloated and ego next to each other in a sentence. So basically, I chose the perfect word. Marnie could go on her merry way, thinking I meant swell as some kind of retro throwback compliment, and I could rest easy that I kept my promise to Dayton without crushing Marnie's soul. Last time I told her what I really thought about some guy she was dating, the scarred look in her eyes gave me nightmares for a week. She really needs to start asking my advice before she goes out with Guy. We'll both be so much happier that way. Yes, Todd is just swell. I smiled with confidence, pretend confidence, but it worked the same way as the real thing. Pretending wasn't lying either. It's acting. People in California get paid millions of dollars every day to do what I'm doing. Yeah? Marnie chewed on her lower lip. Yeah, sure, of course. Super swell. I tossed the half-full bag of gummy bears back under the counter without looking where it landed. Anyways, what time are you working at the Aqua Center tonight? Marnie glanced at her watch. I need to be there in about a half hour. How about you? My first lesson is at 6:45. Will you still be around? Yeah, so I'll see you tonight. Yay. She slipped off the bar stool and pulled her purse on her shoulder. Oh, hi, Keith. My manager grunted as he stepped out of the stockroom. The doors swung behind him, swaying back and forth before they finally closed. You don't have to leave, he said to Marnie. It's slow today. You girls can keep yakking. I scoffed. We're not, and never have been, yakking. Keith gazed around the empty store and indulged himself with a sigh before he peered at the inventory clipboard in his hands. It will pick up, Marnie said brightly. It's always busier on the weekends. Ha! Where was Dayton when I needed him? Everybody, even Marnie, tells lies to make people feel better. Keith jerked a thumb at Marnie but looked at me. Have I told you how much I like this girl? I rolled my eyes all the way to the ceiling and back again. Of course he liked Marnie. Everybody liked Marnie. Marnie was the nicest person on the planet. She was also the most oblivious. She didn't even notice that Keith gave her a compliment. She was too busy thinking of the next thoughtful thing to say. She should have realized the compliment from Keith was like finding a $100 bill stuffed between the couch cushions. How's your new grandbaby? Marnie asked. The girl was good. If there was one thing to take Keith's mind off inventory woes in an empty frozen yogurt store, his new grandbaby was it. Keith stopped moving as if one of us had hit the pause button. He pulled his phone out of his back pocket and let his glasses slide to the tip of his nose so that he could peer over them. My grandbaby, Keith smiled. All of the tension leaked out of his shoulders like he was a balloon with a pinhole. She is an angel. Looky here. He flicked his thumb at the screen a few times and handed the phone to Marnie. Oh, Marnie cooed and turned the phone so I could see too. It was a baby. Cute. No, Marnie shook her head, her long curls sweeping across her back. Not just cute, Bailey. Oh my goodness. She is the cutest thing I have ever seen. Look at her tiny little fingers, Keith. She's perfect. Marnie scrolled through more pictures, her face just inches from the screen. What's her name? Keith leaned over with a creaky groan. Emmy. He looked so relaxed that I almost didn't recognize him. His face was suddenly void of stress wrinkles. He never looked that way when he was talking to me. She's something else, isn't she? Absolutely, darling. Marnie pulled her eyes from the screen and pushed the phone back to Keith with an air of a person performing the ultimate sacrifice. Keith turned to me with a stern look on his face. It's refreshing to see a girl still go gaga for babies. Gives me hope for the rising generation. Gaga? Really? I smirked. Please don't start your next sentence with the words, back in my day. I lowered my voice during the last part to sound like an ancient grandpa. Keith opened his mouth and closed it again. Have I fired you yet today? Yep, about an hour ago. What for? I squinted at the ceiling, trying to remember the specifics. I squirted whipped cream into my mouth. Keith pushed his glasses back up his nose and shuffled the inventory papers as though he were reminding himself of how much work he had to do. You're just lucky I love your parents, Bailey Hendricks. I know. Keith glared at me, trying to hide the smile that was totally obvious, and went back to the stockroom. I grinned cheekily, waggling my fingers. Marnie's eyes shifted from the swinging stockroom door to my face. You really are lucky. This is a great job. Yeah? I tipped my head back to drop a handful of peanut butter chips into my mouth. Yes! Marnie gave me a stern look, well, as stern as Marnie could be, and then leaned over and spoke in a whisper. Bailey, I really think you hurt Keith's feelings about the baby. You could have been a little more excited. I shrugged. I don't see the big deal. It's just a baby. Now, if you want to show me a picture of a Rome cathedral or a pastry in Paris or a Scottish castle, I promise to get all dreamy-eyed and sappy like you just did. Oh, Bailey, Marnie smiled at me all indulgently, like I was a toddler playing in the middle of a huge mess. Don't you ever want to settle down? I mean, I know you want to travel the world and see all the things, but don't you want a family and a home and a handsome husband? Don't you have to get to work yet? Not quite yet, she pointed her finger at me. You are avoiding my question. Come on, just this once, answer me. The bell over the door rang, signaling that a new customer had just come into Froyo. I prepared myself for a greeting because Froyo is a friendly place for friendly people, or whatever, because I was super grateful for this interruption. Then I saw who it was. Oh, hey, Tanner. I tried to muster a wave, but my hand flopped down to my side without any real substance to keep it up. Tanner's eyes darted around the empty store, resting on my face for the barest second before moving on to something else. He let the corner of his mouth quiver into a smile, or a smile-ish thing. To me, it looked more akin to the face people make when they are standing in line at the MVD. He focused on the corner booth and made his way there, working his way through the maze of tables and chairs as if someone were reeling him in on a line. Does he come here every day? Marnie leaned forward to whisper. I mean, I feel like I'm here a lot, and he's always here when I am. I turned on the scale so it would be ready when Tanner was. Then I went back to Marnie. I waved my hands in front of my face, used my creepiest voice, and slowed the words to build suspense. Every single day, like clockwork. At the stroke of 2, he walks in. He sets his laptop on the corner table, turns it on, and while the computer loads, he swirls a medium vanilla cup with strawberries, please. Tanner dropped a cup onto the scale next to me. I gave Marnie a knowing look as I reached for the spoon that rested in the container of strawberries. I scooped 1 spoonful on top of his plain vanilla yogurt. 10 ounces on the dot, I said. That will be. Tanner set a $10 bill on the counter and scooted it toward me. Keep the change, he said as he took his cup. His total was always the same. Every day, he swirled precisely 10 ounces, which rang up to exactly $5. Then he gave me a $5 tip. That's the only reason I put up with him. I exchanged the 10 for a 5 and then closed the cash register drawer with a slam. Tanner jumped slightly but didn't look at me. Instead, he chose a spoon and a napkin, then made his way back to the corner table and his beloved screen. I shook my head as I stuffed the $5 bill into the empty tip jar. Marnie let out a slow breath. Wow, right? I reached for a rag to wipe the counter, even though nothing had spilled. I only did it so I could tell Keith the truth when he asked me later if I'd cleaned up between customers. So, does Tanner just sit there like that every day? Marnie asked, her neck craned at a strange angle as she tried to stare at Tanner without being obvious. I nodded. Every single day, for hours and hours. I keep rotating the chairs at that table so his booty doesn't mold into the plastic. Marnie covered her mouth to muffle the giggles, but she didn't need to. The frozen yogurt machine could have unplugged itself from the wall and started salsa dancing across the tile in a bright pink bikini, and Tanner wouldn't have budged. Once he got in the zone of whatever it was he did over there all day, he was like a piece of furniture. In fact, I think I accidentally dusted him a few times. Wonder what his story is, Marnie's eyes danced. His what now? His story. Marnie wiggled closer to me. Everyone has one. Do you think he might be an underworld spy? I opened my mouth but stopped myself just in time. I always forgot that Marnie didn't have a sarcastic streak, like, at all. She literally meant everything she said. So, in all seriousness, she sat there imagining Tanner in a James Bond suit and dangling from a helicopter. He looks lonely. She tapped her fingers on the counter. Do you think he's lonely? I'm going to match him. What goes with strawberries? I didn't even want to know. The thought of someone hooking up with Tanner really did make me want to do some yakking, but not the kind Keith was talking about. I bit back an extremely not nice response. This honesty thing was making my brain hurt. From now on, our conversation needed to stay on neutral subjects like candy, swimming. Tanner scooted his chair, making it screech obnoxiously in the silent room. Sorry, he mumbled. I assumed he was talking to his computer screen, since that's what his eyes were glued to. The smile toyed along Marnie's lips. Wonder why he comes here all the time. Don't know. Also don't care. Marnie turned to me with bright eyes. What do you like on your frozen yogurt? Oh, no. She was not about to match me with Tanner. That was seriously the most offensive thing anyone had ever said to me, and I lived with a brother who made it his mission in life to make my life miserable. He even had a list on his bedroom wall of things I needed to change entitled Ways to Improve Bailey. Marnie appraised Tanner discreetly for a couple seconds. He's cute, she offered. Sure he is, Marnie. The two of us can get married in the Shire and raise our family on the trek to Mordor. What? Marnie's face went blank. I lowered my voice even more and leaned forward. Don't you think he looks like a hobbit? He's not short or fat, and I've never seen a hobbit with a beard, she said finally. I waved her words away with my hand. Look at his hair. It's all curly and longish. He's like Frodo's twin. Marnie shifted in her chair. Well, maybe. I let the subject drop. It's not necessary to convince someone of something when you already know you're right. It doesn't matter. Even if he looked like Zac Efron, under all that facial hair, it's still not happening. Marnie nodded. Okay, not Tanner, but let me find you someone else. I really think you need a guy. Whatever, Marnie. I go out with guys all the time. Just on lunch and dinner dates, you need something consistent. A relationship. She said the ship word. I was so done with this conversation. Hey, aren't you going to be late for work? I stuck my watch in her face and tapped it with my fingers. Yikes, I better run, Marnie said. But before I go, I need you to tell me what you like on your frozen yogurt. If you don't leave right now, you're going to be really late, and Jordan will be super mad. I wiggled my watch to make it look more urgent. Fine, she sighed. Hey, Todd's meeting me after work for dinner. You should come. I didn't trust myself to say something nice, so I didn't say anything at all. Oh, you probably have plans, huh? Where's your date taking you tonight? Marnie rummaged through her purse for her keys. My date? Hopping milk duds, my date. I slept in this morning and missed my morning classes, which means I didn't have a chance to convince one of the guys to take me to dinner tonight. Are you all right? Marnie pursed her lips. I slapped my palms on the counter. I have to find a date. Does that mean you're free? Marnie's face lit up. You could come with Todd and me. So not happening. I needed a plan, and I needed one like now. Tapping my fingernails on the counter made a spastic clicking noise that helped me think. Marnie waited. Where are you guys going? I asked, as though I was considering it. I don't know, maybe Wildflower? I was just there. Thanks, though. That was not a lie. I'd gone for lunch 2 days ago with some guy from my biology class, Traeger, or something manly like that. Actually, I think Traeger was his last name. Didn't matter. He was not a repeat date. Marnie's phone chimed. It's Todd. She literally sparkled when she said his name. I would be cleaning glitter off the floors for days. Yay, I said with just the teeniest, tiniest hint of sarcasm. Sarcasm wasn't lying either. Her eyes were glued to her phone screen as she asked, You sure about dinner? Yeah, go. I'll see you at the pool. Marnie nodded and put her phone to her ear. Hey, Todd. She floated out the door to her car. As I watched, I was glad I hadn't burst her bubble by telling her what I really thought about him. But enough about that. Had another problem, a bigger problem, a problem which would become urgent in about 3 hours. Since I didn't go to my morning classes, the only male humanoids I'd seen since saying goodbye to Dayton that morning were Keith, who was married, and Tanner, who was Tanner. I needed to find a real guy pronto and flirt my way to a dinner date. There was no way I was going to get stuck eating leftovers at home by myself. It was time to pull out the sample tray.